news. Kuba, you're very welcome. And lovely to have you on this afternoon. So listen, we'll just chat away as we go through, as you prepare, and tell us a bit about yourself and what you're up to and all that sort of thing. So what are you going to do for us today?
A crumble.
A crumble? An apple crumble? Or blue...
a blackberry and apple crumble.
An apple crumble. Very nice for the season that's in it.
Yeah.
Lovely.
We're going to put it in a souffle though. So we're going to make an apple and blackberry souffle. Blackberries at the minute, at least I live in Bolton on the Water. Yeah. So around Cotswolds, blackberries are absolutely amazing this year. Some of them are like as big as raspberries. You know, I mean, they're really sweet, juicy, and everywhere. You know, they're like just bushes are black. So I haven't seen here like this for a long time. So I'm obsessed. You know, we eat them every day for when we go for a walk with the dog and have a porridge, pick some. They're really good this year. So I just got an inspiration sort of, and I thought I need to use them. And apples actually as well. Apples from the old tree, which I just found them on the floor next to the blackberries on the field. So
amazing. Yeah.
So I'm not spending much money from Didcot budget, except some egg whites and a bit of corn flour.
Yeah.
So
well, I mean, it's the perfect time of the year for this kind of.
Yes, they as I said, and this year I really think they're really amazing. So and who doesn't like apple and blackberry crumble? Yeah. Especially when it's a souffle. So I will start.
You go
while we obviously have a chat. So the first thing, souffle. Souffle. Everyone is sort of there's this sort of aura around souffle.
Yeah, there's sort of a mystique about it.
I mean, if they fail, then that's the oven's fault. But I want to say, there is the aura about souffles being so difficult, but actually I don't really think they are so difficult. There is always certain things we have to remember and watch as we're doing them, but actually once we sort of master those sort of basics, they're actually not that difficult. Yeah. Especially the fruit-based one, which I'm going to sort of demonstrate as we go. So souffle is a base, so we need to do a base for a souffle. So for like traditional sort of vanilla chocolate, pistachio souffle would be based on crème pâte, so crème pâtissière, which is sort of like a custard with flour. Yeah. So it's your thick sort of base which you flavor with vanilla, chocolate, or whatever flavor of souffle you want, and then you fold whip egg whites or a whip meringue through the base, put it in ramekins, and you cook it, and that's your souffle. Yeah. The crème pâtissière or French cream, it's easy to do as well, so it's not nothing difficult. But let's say there is some work involved. Plus, it's got flour usually, and cream and eggs and so on. So it's sort of a bit heavier. Fruit one as well. So traditional French souffle will be still based on the anglaise crème pâtissière base, folded with the fruit puree. But the easy way for me, which I found, is to get your fruits, which we're doing now, and we're going to make a puree out of the fruit. So we start with apples because obviously they harden, they need to cook a little bit. They cook in apples, they're sort of ravens, so they will, let's find the right knife here, they will sort of cook out very quickly into a sort of mush. And then the blackberries, we're just gonna blitz them, pass them through the sieve, and add to the mix. And so you can do it with any fruit, like blackberry, raspberry, strawberry, cherry, whatever. And then instead of cooking it with sort of eggs and flour and whatever, we're just gonna thicken it with corn flour. So it's very sort of easy, quick method. Instead of corn flour, I'm gonna use custard powder. A normal sort of bird's eye. My favorite ingredient, where a lot of chefs are quite scared of it and feel a little bit. But I think there is something in the bird's eye custard that you can't replicate doing doing a crème anglaise and so on. There's this sort of.
Well, it's been with us for so many years, and I think so many people.
Yeah, I tend when I do it, when I do a custard, I usually still use egg yolks. Yeah. Egg yolks, like we would normally do for crème anglaise. but then I sort of mix with the custard, so I got a bit of both. So you got like extra richness in a sort of normal standard custard. Yeah. Just a little bit of butter in the pan.
That's just normal unsalted.
Just unsalted butter. The apples very sort of quickly rough dice as they will sort of fall, you know, they will cook out and then we're gonna liquidize them anyway, so it doesn't matter. The smaller they're gonna be chopped, obviously quicker they're gonna cook.
Does it matter what type of apple you use to it? Like, for instance, if you didn't have that particular type of apple, if you just had a normal...
I mean, for this, you can. It will take much longer to cook out, because what you want to do is make sure the apple is fully cooked, so it's soft, so when you liquidize it, it just liquidizes it, it's not chunky and sort of... Yeah. So cooking apple is the quickest. And as well, what's good about cooking apple is it's sour. And souffles, very often I found souffles quite sweet, because obviously you need certain amount of sugar into egg whites. You need sugar to make them rise. So obviously you whip the egg whites with sugar, so that's already quite sweet. Yeah. So if your base is sweet, then it becomes very, very sweet. Yeah. So hence, like my favorite souffle is like passion fruit souffle, for example, because it's very sour, or lemon. Because it's very sour, so the mixing with the sweet meringue, you kind of balance it, and it's sort of nice level of sweetness. So the same with cooking apple, because it's sour. I didn't have any sugar, as you can see. It will be a sour, quite sour base. So when we fold the meringue through it, the souffle is going to be nice and sort of sweet, obviously, but not too sweet.
Yeah. And how many apples did you use? Was it 2 apples?
That was 2 apples. That's about sort of, we're going to look, we're looking into even amount of apple and blackberry puree. So it's going to give us about 200 grams of puree, and I'm going to make 200 grams of blackberry. Yeah. Fine. So it's sort of equal amounts. You know, we can do it by eye, to be honest. It's, in the end of the day, just now we're going to be it loud for a moment. Yeah, all I want is the sort of puree. I don't want, or the coulis. I don't want the seeds.
There's something very satisfying about that, you know.
Is it?
Wow, you know.
No, it's, you know, look at the color of them. They really are really great this year. So, so this is sort of, you can almost do it by eye, whatever, by eye, not necessarily by eye, but when we when you got I know it's gonna be roughly 200 grams, and that's gonna be roughly 200 grams. So I will make it kind of by eye. Yeah. But the best way would be to weigh it when it's finished. Yes. And then you're adding roughly 10% of corn flour or of a custard powder to thicken it up. There you go. Yeah. So as you can see, apples are already.
They cook very quickly. Yeah.
They're already almost cooked out. So now I'm just gonna get my blackberries into this.
Ah, so this is how you separate it.
Yeah, but they obviously lots of seeds in them, which is, you know, very good source of fiber. Yeah. But we not necessarily want to eat souffle and kind of, you know, spit a lot of seeds. Yeah. Yeah. So because as you can see, there is quite a lot of them.
And this is very important to you. I mean, this is all part of your ethos, so to speak. That, you know, locally produced food in the Cotswolds and.
Yes, you know, I mean, I kind of, I mean, it just makes sense. You know, I mean, it's sort of, I'm not super obsessed. Yeah. Don't get me wrong. You know, I mean, I love Spanish pork, or, you know, Iberico pork, or you know, Wagyu beef from somewhere. Once, you know, everything got place for it, I think. But you know, if I go for a walk with my dog outside my house and I see these things around me, it just makes sense to use them. Yeah.
So like all this stuff today.
And I keep losing my spatula, which is here. Right. So
this is all very quick, isn't it?
Yeah. I mean, you could be surprising how quick it is. it needs to cool down. So I've got one which I've prepared area. That's typically, but it needs to be cold. You know, you can't fold your egg whites through the hot base because that will cook the egg whites straight away. So that would be no good. So then I've got my blackberry in there. So now I can fully liquidize this.
That's a fantastic colour.
Yeah, the colour is really good and it smells even better.
Yeah. That is a bumper batch of.
It's fine. It's fine. It's just it is messy and stains. But yeah, we got sort of a puree. So now we need to bring it back to the boil, and I'm gonna take custard powder. This away so it's not in the way, and then yeah, it's about I'm guessing is about 300 grams in there.
Yeah.
So I'm gonna use 30 grams of custard powder, so about 10%. As I said, corn flour. Use corn flour if you don't have it, but I just think I'm gonna serve it with custard, so it's kind of you getting the same sort of. Plus, who doesn't like apple, blackberry, and custard?
So do you like you'll go out picking blackberries and then can you freeze them? Or
yeah. Of course, you can freeze them. I usually freeze them in a puree form, so I would liquidize them, pass through the sieve, and then just have a puree like that, because then I can use it straight away into things like that. But you can obviously freeze them whole. I do like salt base and freeze them as a salt base.
So you can use them as and when you need.
Yeah. So then that goes in. So obviously you need to dissolve your corn flour or custard powder, which is mainly corn flour, with cold water first.
Yeah.
I'm not adding any milk, so it's got egg in it, the souffle, but it's dairy free if you need it to be dairy free and gluten free. Obviously the crumble, which we're gonna put on top, will have dairy and gluten, but you could make one gluten free.
You could do one. Yeah.
So as well, it's a quite good dessert for that.
Can everybody see what the colour has changed there?
Oh, I'm not sure you can see colours, but it looks like beetroot. But no, it's sort of nice, sort of really, ruby colour. So now we need to bring it to the boil and just cook it out, the corn flour, so nice and thick.
I can't believe how quick it all happens.
It's I think it's with demonstration, it's always like, and I did that mistake a few times in the past. You come up with a barbecue and water bath and God knows what else, and after 10 minutes half of all are lost because they're like, what is this about? We don't have any of it, and then you start talking about sort of different processes, techniques, and then I always feel like maybe 2 people in the whole group which are really passionate about it, and got the sous vide, they kind of know what to talk about, and the rest is kind of like, oh yeah, okay, that was nice. But so I tend to do it, and I like to do things which actually are achievable and quite interesting, because I'm sure any of your guests, if you serve it apple and blackberry souffle to them, they will be really pleased. So, and again, it can be any fruit, because if you, as I said at the start, we've got a puree base. You can buy a frozen fruit from any shop. You got like forest mix, you got blackberries, apples, strawberry. Defrost that, blitz, pass through the sieve, thicken with the corn flour, let it cold, and that's the souffle base. So you get, possibilities are endless. So it needs, as I said, it needs to cook out, needs to get cold. So that's how it looks when it's cold. It sometimes sort of sets in like a block a little bit. So then a good thing is to get your hand stick blender again and run through the mix. So it kind of breaks it up, so it's sort of more pliable. But yeah, that's the base done.
Lovely. Any questions, anybody, so far? You all seem very happy, Kuba.
It's quite straightforward.
I mean, and, you know, cookery and chefing for you was sort of it came, well, not late, a little bit later now, because you were all set for a career in finance.
Oh, I wouldn't say, career. I got a degree in financial management, but I didn't like it at all. So it's sort of, I'm not sure that much career will be there for me. But yes, it was more like to please my parents. To sort of, they wanted me to have a degree. So plus, I grew up in Poland, and sort of end of 90s in Poland, sort of 90s in general. There wasn't really a career for chefs. There was no restaurants. There was no movie, that culture. There was people didn't really go out. There was, sort of past, just after the communism times and so on. So for my parents, especially, if you were kind of not very academic and not doing well, sort of at school, you be a hairdresser, chef, a cook, or a builder kind of thing. It was sort of really seen very sort of low. In that respect, and that generation of people like my parents, in that times in Poland, for them, higher education was the only way forward to achieve anything in life. Where, as we all know now, to find a plumber, electrician, and so on is a goal. So it's not necessarily true nowadays. So, so I did a degree in financial management, and then I quickly. As soon as I finish it, I've run away to UK.
So cooking was always sort of on the back burner.
I'll just quickly stop you. I need to prepare the souffle molds. So the best thing to do them is the ramekin. Obviously, we can cook them in the ramekin.
Oh yeah.
So we need to butter it and put the sugar on the side of the wall, so the souffle doesn't stick to it and rises nice and
is that normal sugar?
Yes, I'm going very simply. So this is just soft butter, which I'm gonna brush all over and just use caster sugar. You could you could add some cinnamon to your sugar and do a cinnamon sugar. You could grate some chocolate. You could use cocoa powder. You can buy on Amazon freeze-dry blackberry powder if you want, and put it around. So it needs to have sugar, 50% of sugar at least, because that is what's kind of preventing it from sticking and creating kind of a crust.
Yes.
Because the whole idea is the souffle needs to be, free to go up. If somewhere is not there's not enough butter or sugar, it might catch on it, and then your souffle might be a bit wobbly or not, don't rise at all. So with the butter, you can do kind of crazy to start with, but then it's important to get your brush and sort of go from. Okay, we lost.
There we go.
Okay, so from sort of bottom up, so you probably won't be able to see, but you kind of get those grooves of butter, so kind of like a trucks. So kind of get your souffle going up, and then just as I said, I'm gonna use plain sugar, but you could use always sort of based on half sugar at least. But you could, as I said, add flavors to it, colors, different color, like with the freeze-dry powder. You could do a bit of the puree. We had some fancy chefs, they do sort of lines, so you could sort of brush it with coulis. Like 4 lines, so then when it grows, you're gonna have 4 lines of different color. So there's ways to sort of make it a bit more fancy.
So you just put the sugar in the bottom, and then you
turn it all around, so it's nice and sticks to it. Take the excess off, and that's about it. 2 o'clock. I don't want to be late like the previous guy. It was terrible. Because there is a set rules here I've signed. Really strict. So
switch the electricity.
So the souffle is going to take 10-15 minutes to cook. So I will do the souffle first. And then explain other bits why they're cooking. So souffle. We got our base. I've got my egg whites, and I need the bowls.
Because people always get slightly nervous about doing the souffle, don't they?
Yes, so they should be. So you have to go to, to the restaurant and pay for it. So,
Did you
so I got a job. So.
How many practice runs have you had to do before you were happy with your very first souffle that you could present to people saying, yeah?
I remember, to be honest. I always used to, when I used to work at the Feathered Nest, we always had souffle on the menu, and
lots of practice.
I don't even remember my first souffle, to be honest. I was in college for sure, but in Kent. But yeah, don't remember the first souffle. Don't remember many dramas. The cheese souffle drama I remember, but that was savoury one. Yeah. That was when I was working in Le Manoir, and it was souffle for Stella McCartney.
Oh yeah.
And yeah, I've tried like 3 or 4 times, and for whatever reason it just didn't work, and she never received the souffle that night.
I was going to say, what did you say?
And I wasn't in a good books with the chef that night, that's for sure. Anyway, so in here we got this. I'm gonna make 6 souffles, so there is something to taste for most of you, hopefully. I've got 200 grams of base over here. I've got 200 grams of egg whites, so equal amounts egg whites to the base. And then a third of sugar,
just a little,
which is that's sort of 65 grams, and that's it. So I'm gonna use this sort of hand thing so you can see it better.
Can everybody see this?
I can move it, probably swap it.
Lovely, thank you.
This way.
That's
the camera is over there.
See it.
So when we do the egg whites, obviously that's gonna go a little bit loud. I'm not sure how loud it's gonna get, but I'm gonna add a pinch to start with, just a little pinch, just to sort of break up the egg whites. So a slower speed, you can add a pinch of salt or sugar. That just creates sort of, so they don't split and they don't become foamy. They're just sort of nice and sort of smooth. And it's kind of like a soft meringue, so we don't want anything crumbly, anything sort of over whipped. We want like a moussey consistency, so as we fold it to the base, it's kind of smooth and not over whipped, because we want that sort of power energy of the egg whites being still there, like air being trapped in there, so the souffle goes up.
That's the key, isn't it? Yeah.
And so after sort of slowest speed to start, now I'm gonna speed it up and whip it sort of 3/4 before I start adding the sugar. I mean, it's not ready yet. Obviously, it's, I couldn't do a test on you because
that's what I was afraid of.
It's still sort of. You can see the peak a little bit, but it's not. It's getting there. So, for me, means that's ready. Yeah, you don't have to be too. I know some people say you have to do it, little by little. I sort of do it in 2-3 parts.
Yeah.
There's no really. Not much risk in that, to be honest. Always make sure your bowl is nice and clean, it's not greasy, because obviously that will as well prevent egg whites from whipping. Obviously no egg yolk in there as well, and stuff like that. So we sort of, it's still, it's whipped. I think the ball is quite sleepy as well. So sort of, when you do your peak, you kind of can put it up and it sort of stays up.
That's it. Yeah.
So but most importantly, you can see it's nice and smooth. There's no sort of split bits. There's no. It's that's important.
That's a good sign when it's.
Yeah, because you know, I mean, if the egg is bad, or that's why the pinch of sugar, salt, or drop of lemon juice to start. It helps emulsify the sort of egg yolks, so the egg whites, so they're sort of nice and smooth and not breaking up.
Okay.
And now you take about a third of your egg whites into the base, and you kind of can be quite vigorous with it, and just you want to make sure you loosen up the base and mix this sort of egg whites through it, and the rest of it we're gonna fold gently. So we're just gonna, it's much looser.
Yeah.
So now the rest of it, it will be easier to fold in. But important bit is that now we are gentle with it, because obviously the air which is in this egg whites is the air which is gonna, you know, make that rise.
And so you're just folding it in as you go.
Yeah, again, you know, I mean, it's not like you have to be sort of so scared of it.
But not too vigorous.
But sort of more folding movement instead of mixing. Okay.
Have many of you ever attempted a souffle? Yeah.
I think we were always told to use a metal spoon when folding it. It obviously doesn't make any difference.
Metal spoon in a metal bowl, or doesn't?
No, just to do the egg white into the souffle. Don't know where that came from.
I've never had that before. Always use spatula, to be honest, because you can clean it nicely from the edges, and so it's one of those myths probably.
You always use a metal spoon when you do your souffles? Yeah.
Right, so what I'm going to do is put the mix at the bottom.
Little ramekins. So about what, half of the little.
Yeah, for now, because I'm going to put inside a little compote of blackberries and apples. So first I'm pressing it down, so I'm making sure they kind of in every corner of the ramekin.
Yeah.
Then here I've got the blackberry and apple compote, which I can show you how to do it once they're cooking. But basically it's just the apple, blackberry, cooked in a little syrup, and thicken it with a little bit custard powder again. And I'm just going to put sort of a spoonful in the middle.
Yeah.
Sort of like, if you don't do it, your souffle is going to be a bit higher, because obviously it's going to have more mix in it. But then I quite like that fruity sort of center inside. So it's more like, kind of crumble you will have.
Yeah.
So that goes in the middle, and then
More on top.
top it up.
Very nice.
Yeah, I think about this metal spoon, to be honest. I don't know really what would be the science behind it, but it'd be interesting to know.
What's it go?
What's the science behind the wood, the metal spoon?
Yeah. Wow.
A lot of new kitchens nowadays don't even have metal spoons, to be honest.
Yeah.
Right.
So that's those 6 all loaded.
Yeah, that's sort of roughly for that's for the 6 ramekin. I'm gonna tap it a little bit just to making sure the mix is in every bit of the ramekin.
Can you see this? That's what Kuba is doing.
Right. So again, we're gonna tap it once or twice. Then with the palette knife, we want to make sure this is nice and smooth.
Yeah.
Okay.
Very nice.
Let's get some space so we need it into Yep.
So if you're having people coming around for dinner, whatever, would it be better to prepare these sort of
you can't really. I mean, you can. The one way we used to do that is to do them beforehand, and you can put them in the freezer.
Yeah.
But that's sort of just before the dinner party. It's not like, you know, day ahead.
Yeah, yeah. You've
And
got to
then
do it on the day.
And then you could give them a quick start in the microwave. So we would. That's in the restaurant. That's what we used to do. It's sort of 5 seconds in the microwave. You can just see it's kind of start doming up a little bit, and that is possible. But the best way is probably do it fresh.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, the safest way. So now I'm gonna just do a little. I don't want anything to stick to the rim, so with my sort of finger, I'm going around to sort of clean the edge.
Yeah.
A
little lip on it.
Yeah, like a little lip. Because as I said, we don't want this to stick to anything, so that just prevents sticking to the rim. Oven is about 195, 190. I've got a tray there since I've started, so the tray is nice and hot, so when I put them on, they will kind of get the instant heat from the bottom. Important to sort of clean your molds because any sort of piece of egg white, base, whatever on it, it will just cook and become brown. So obviously it won't look
nice and
nice and presentable.
Yeah.
So that is important. Then on top of it, I'm gonna put the crumble bit.
Oh yeah.
So just standard crumble, flour, flour, butter, sugar. I've added some oats as well and some cinnamon.
Yeah.
So it's kind of like a cinnamon crumble, and that goes on top. Like, you know, crumble would be.
And in preparing that crumbly bit, how long does that take, Kuba, to do the...
Well, crumble, you know, it's just flour. You rub the butter through flour, add some sugar, cinnamon, some oats, put it on a tray, and I've cooked it in the oven for about 6-7 minutes, just to sort of not completely cook it. It is cooked completely, but not too dark, because obviously they will carry on cooking in the oven, so you don't want this to be too dark crumble.
Yeah.
You want to sort of just sort of set it, and then we'll toast it more in the oven as we go.
Yeah.
So that is it. So I will put this in the oven and start praying. And you can pray with me. Obviously, I will look.
Is that a fan oven, or does it matter?
Yeah,
the temperature?
I've got a fan oven on it. It.
So it makes all the difference.
Marvelous. Right, so 10 minutes roughly. You know, I mean, 9. I'm gonna obviously observe them.
Yeah.
So then the compote. Not sure if you want me to do it or not, but compote inside was basically water with sugar, so make syrup.
Yeah.
Sort of 50-50.
That's you cast the sugar again.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And bring out to the boil. Then we're gonna add. I'm gonna cut one apple. Sort of dice it up again, and you want to cook it. Obviously will overcook very quickly. So it's kind of almost put it in for a minute, just to soften, together with blackberries.
Yeah.
And then I will thicken it slightly. Just to sort of, so it's a nice sort of jammy consistency.
It's simmering away there.
As I said, crumble is sort of box standard crumble. You know, whatever variation of crumble you do. You know, everyone's got their own recipe probably for the topping. So the topping is whatever you like. And then I've got a custard made as well, which is it's been, as I said before, I used some egg yolks, sort of 2 or 3 egg yolks for half a liter of milk with some sugar, but I still will mix the custard powder. So it's kind of like a creme anglaise, with a bit of the custard powder and some vanilla. Obviously ice cream would be great with it, vanilla ice cream, or you know, you could do a blackberry sorbet or granita, which is quite easy with frozen blackberries.
Yeah.
Yeah. So we're gonna get apples.
Yeah.
And there.
And there's only a tiny drop of water really at the bottom of the pan. Yeah.
And as I said, bring it to the boil in maybe 30 seconds. We don't want to overcook them. I'm going to add some cinnamon as well. Still want the crunch in the apples, so it's sort of as we did, you got the texture, because obviously souffle is soft and airy. So I want to make sure that is, you know, got texture to it. I'm going to warm up the custard, so we got nice custard to serve with it. Yeah, we start talking about something and I kind of stop you and I forgot what it was.
Well, you were telling me about how you ran away to England having done your finance
that's the whole story.
degree, and then you came to the UK. And the rest is history then.
Yeah, I mean, it was, you know, it's amazing, 20 years almost now.
Yeah.
Kind of just proves that, you know, if something sits in your head and you want to do it, but even, I didn't have an idea what it was and how to do it and sort of, but I just knew that I need to change something. So, and Poland joined the European Union, so it's kind of, you know, everything open up, which is a history now as well.
Yeah. All of the story, yeah.
And then, yeah, you know, I mean, I just went, stay with my friends. Then there was a college in the same area, which Gary Rhodes finished, so it was kind of quite a good, very good college. And then, so I thought, oh, you know, I apply for the course, and it's kind of spin itself out, and something which was somewhere in my head kind of came reality. So which is quite nice.
So it was the right thing to do, Susan. That was very much the right thing to do.
I mean, sometimes I do question though. You know, what was it? You know,
we all do.
My father wasn't a fan. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
He was warning me I'm gonna regret it, but it's long hours standing in the it's not, you know, it's not the easiest job, but
yeah.
It is satisfying. Yeah. I mean, it is. Yeah. And obviously, sort of allowed me to do a lot of interesting things. You know, I've worked in nice places. Serford, our late Queen, as well. You know, Buckingham Palace and Windsor Castle. And
you worked at Buckingham Palace.
Yeah, I mean, there was a student there, and we were like kind of an extra special team. We sort of, whenever there was a state visit or Charles wedding of Camilla and Charles as well, and they had a big occasion in the palace and they needed extra stuff.
Yeah.
We were kind of from college, we had all the security done and so on, so we could sort of kind of, you know, we were coming and extra help kind of thing. So, which was, you know, I was second year in the UK, so for me it was like really. I was like, I remember standing in this ballroom at Buckingham Palace, and I'm like. What am I doing here? You know?
And did you get to see? I mean, did you see or meet the late Queen?
Yeah. I mean, not obviously one-to-one in a way, but
you
sort of I had to bow to her and whatever, and so on. So that was, you know, memorable for sure, very memorable.
Yeah.
As well, used to work in British Embassy in Paris, which was sort of my job was to serve ambassador, kind of serve his breakfast. I iron his suits and polish his shoes and all that sort of stuff. Which, you know, I've never been to an army. You know, never wanted to go to army, and I never, you know, I'm not this sort of person. To like army, but I think that was a kind of you know, this sort of thing, and then especially I worked in MNO as well with Raymond Blanc and stuff, so that was like an army. So. Right, so I'm adding a bit more custard powder to this compote. It's just sort of purely so we got that sort of not just a watery texture. So it's a nice, and it sort of gives nice glaze to the fruit.
Yes, yeah.
And I'm gonna add a bit of cinnamon as well.
And again, it all comes up pretty quick, doesn't it?
Yeah, I mean it's very, it's quite a quick recipe. I mean you can invite your friends, have a good chat, and
It's all
and bang some souffles up. I mean it's that easy.
very nice.
Right. So yeah. So that's basically I like it. I don't like it jammy. Obviously you could cook it like a jam, but then there's obviously much sweeter.
Yeah.
The fruit is broken up, and it's kind of not. Well, this is kind of quite fresh, quite sort of crunchy still, and that's what I like about that. Yeah, the custard is ready as well. So
The souffles.
thank you very much. It was really nice to pop
prayers,
in.
Yeah, your prayers have been answered.
Right. Yeah. So I mean, it's catering is one of those jobs where I mean, it sort of takes you to different places, not necessarily expecting it, and sort of meeting a lot of people. And
well, I'm sure that Manwar was one of those places where you don't know who you're going to be catering for. I'm sure.
Yeah, like Stella McCartney trying to make cheese souffle for her.
Yeah. Has she ever forgiven you?
She didn't know it was me, but I'm sure chef forgave me. But it was, it's like if you ask me for, moments in the kitchen I want to forget, that was one of them.
Yeah. Well, in terms of that, what moments have you been most proud of? Do you think?
I mean, for sure, winning, title of National Chef of the Year was a big deal. It's sort of. It's not very well-known competitions, not like chefs like the guy before me, which was a finalist in Master Chef, and everyone knows him as Park. Obviously, it's not televised; it's more like industry-based competition. But Gordon Ramsay won in '92, for example. So
what happened to him?
No idea. So, so it's kind of a fairly big deal inside the industry.
Yeah.
But so that was for sure.
So you'd be regarded as a chef's chef, really, within the industry.
Whatever it was for me, more like it was really, to sort of test yourself.
Yeah.
To see how you compare, with others, and yeah, I just sort of, it was a challenge. It's like 3 stages, so it takes almost a whole year to sort of get ready for it, and it is a fairly big deal. So
serious competition.
Which actually winning it, kind of in the UK, as I said, is really sort of low key, not so sort of in the public eye, but in Poland it went mainstream, which was quite surprising. It was like a main news, and sort of. So that was a bit of 2-3 years in Poland, which were actually quite busy over there with things. I did my TV program in Poland last year, traveling around Poland, and sort of cooking in a 30-year-old VW, and sort of we did all Poland around basically. So no, it keeps giving. It's really a journey which is still well in there. So custard, sorry, I just because I'm doing things and a bit of compote and a crumble on top as a. That's going to be our side dishes to the souffle.
Very nice.
Any more questions?
Any more questions?
Might be someone's more questions. Exactly. Can I put hot on this or not? Is it?
I think you can. Chris, can? Yes.
No, it's wood. So
There should be some juices.
So no, I can't, or no, yes, I can.
No, you can't. Thank you, Rob. This man is this a military-based question again?
Oh no.
Can they be made without sugar?
Without sugar?
Using just a fruit without that?
No. No. The answer is no.
That means I've never known you.
Okay, my chopping board is too small. Right, I'm gonna go over there.
Will that fill it?
Look at that. There we go. Thank you, Kat.
Would that
I
help?
think it's a
Try
little bit too
that.
small, but yeah, okay, we're here. So, Right, so now we need to hurry up because obviously the thing with the souffle is they don't stay too long. But actually, but luckily for me, they worked. So as I said, if we wouldn't put the compote inside, they would go higher.
Yeah.
Because there'll be more mixture. But as I said, I like that sort of texture inside. Yeah, souffle without the sugar, I don't know. I haven't tried. This is very hot, it is, yeah.
Yeah.
I don't have a cloth, so I can do 3.
I can just look chair up the door.
It's too, I can't use those, to be honest. The gloves is like, it's for my wife. I can't, you know, put your hands in it and I don't know really what to do. They can't feel anything, so... right, so that's the souffles.
Wow.
And then, yeah, in the restaurant, you know, the waiter could come and do the hole and put the custard in, or slip the sort of ice cream inside, or you know, whatever you fancy. As I said, I quite like it as a sort of a little side dish of like a little crumble and the custard, and then you can sort of put more fruit into it and as you eat. So, if you want to try it, I would advise you to do it sort of pretty soon.
Kat, do we have any spoons or paper spoons or anything for?
I've got 3. No, I like to try, I would imagine. Is it to eat or to...
The wooden one for the...
Ah, oh, perfect.
There we go. Lovely.
Oh, we got forks. Enjoy. That'd be, you know, the competition now. Who's going to eat faster with the fork? But yeah, you know, you give it a try. You know, it's sort of, it's not as scary as it seems, and especially the fruit-based one. I think they're quite safe. They're quite sort of with the creme pâtissière. You know, if it's too runny, too wet, too much moisture, it's kind of temperamental. Where with the fruit-based, they always work. So
yeah, perfect. And you could try it without sugar, no guarantee.
Yes, I will have to research it, but. You know, I don't know. If you know, can you do meringues without sugar? Is there any all the stevia or whatever? I don't think so. So you know, I've never had.
You can make meringues with stevia.
And we'll whip.
Yeah, they
Oh, there you go.
So maybe you can do the stevia.
There you go.
get practicing. When you do a cheese souffle,
Yeah.
so you don't use sugar, so it comes up. When you're greasing the thing, you use sugar.
No, you could use for the cheese souffle. You could use breadcrumbs, for example, or walnuts, blitz walnuts or nuts. So you would use savory kind of crumb. So obviously for this as well, you could use coconut. You could use. It doesn't have to be sugar on the outside. It can be sort of any. It could be a breadcrumbs. You know, fine breadcrumbs that would work as well. Or cocoa powder. You know.
Lovely. Thank you very much, ladies and gentlemen. Kuba Winkowski.
Thank you.
Grab a fork. Thanks for
Pleasure.
Mad Russian.